have kind of a basic understanding of the snare drum stuff, we talk about rudiments and why we learn them. Basically, for us, it's our language, it's our vocabulary for what we want to say behind either the snare drum. You can apply it to marimba, timpani, and one of the biggest effects is probably drum set. So, in talking about these basic types of rudiments, the first one obviously you do is the single stroke roll, which is again going fast to slow. Another popular one is going to be probably the paradiddle. And in that, the other reason why we do probably rudiments is we talk about stroke types. So in that snare drum one, we talk about the legato stroke, which is basically just bouncing off the head. Another one, what we use a lot of, is what we call the downstroke, which is where you basically don't want the actual stick to rebound. You play into the head, and it just doesn't rebound because you kind of don't want to squeeze, but you just don't let your fingers come off. Don't let that stick actually rebound. The reason why we have a downstroke is basically for if we want to play accents. Okay, so I can play downstroke, and I have my stick there because it doesn't rebound, and play non-accident notes. Again, part of kind of our vocabulary is playing a lot of accent stuff. That actually plays well into a lot of paradiddle, flam excerpts, those types of things. You really have to have control of that downstroke. So when you play these rudiments, like the paradiddle, I usually like to have that downstroke at the beginning. So I have basically a sticking pattern, right, left, left, right, left, which is... Then I provide a little bit of accent at the beginning by playing a downstroke, and it sounds like this. So you can take either a single paradiddle, which is what I was playing, a double paradiddle, which is just adding notes at the beginning, triple paradiddle, which is all the way through there. And you can put accents at the beginning of those if you want to, which is kind of cool. So the reason why we play or use these diddle exercise, paradiddles especially, is because on the drum set it can be incredibly effective. If you've ever watched any drum set player that's any good, he's constantly using some kind of double patterns in his either beats or in his fills or anywhere across the drum. And you can use it on any of your sound sources, whether it be cymbals, toms, bass drum, or snare drum. And just to give you an example of a certain beat, and I got this straight out of Dave Weckle's book, is that you can take this paradiddle and you can apply it basically to a different sound source. So I'm going to take my right hand, put it on the hi-hat here as it's closed, and I'm going to take my left hand here. So I'm playing paradiddles. Provides in and of itself kind of a funky beat. And all I have to do basically, in order to really kind of, obviously you need a little bit of bass drum in there and actually to make it a drum beat, is I'm going to put my quarter note on my right foot on 1 and 3. So I'm going to go 3, 4. And right there, all you're doing is taking a simple paradiddle, putting on 2 different sound sources, adding a little bit of a bass drum to it, and you have kind of a funk groove. And you can kind of get crazy with it if you want. This is basically kind of an ostinato, and you can just kind of make something up with your right foot and go. And you can make some really funky sounds basically just by using a paradiddle. And you can use that same thing around if you want to do fills. You can go basically. Different types of paradiddles you can do in combinations in order to create some kind of fill with it. You can even do, what I like to do is basically a paradiddle diddle, which is right, left, with an accent at the beginning, which works really well sometimes if you're playing like a jazz group, in a jazz group. You can basically play a swing pattern, the most basic. You can play it around different drums. And if you get going fast enough, you can almost sound like you're playing some kind of Buddy Rich thing where it's incredibly fast. You're going. And all what you're basically doing is playing that sticking pattern. And if you've built up speed, and every kind of rudiment that you do, excuse me, is that you want to start slow. fast as you can possibly play it correctly, and then start to slow it back down again. And if you do that process over time, basically your speed will start to develop faster and faster, where you can play these licks at incredible speeds. It kind of looks flashy, but it really isn't that hard to do. So hopefully that helps out in your practice techniques, and you can kind of apply those things to your daily practice. Thank you.
Watch me!